Good morning and happy wrong coat season. You made it, people. It is light at 6:30. It's a glorious time to be alive, but you are always going to leave the house in the wrong coat. You are going to be too hot or too cold or just right for about 30 minutes and then too hot or too cold. But I will take wrong coat season if it means brighter, lighter mornings, longer evenings. Oh, I do love winter. I really do. But there gets a point, sort of end of January into February, where it's like, right, could really do with this being over right now. And we don't wish time away. But at that point, I'm just like, let's get a move on, people. Let's keep it moving. And we made it until the clocks go back. And then we're plunged back into the darkness. But until then, I'm going to enjoy myself and enjoy the bright light mornings and it not being absolutely bitterly cold the second you step out the door. So how are we? Good morning. Happy Wednesday for me. Happy whatever day of the week it is for you. I am heading into Stockbridge for a little work morning. I love to take myself on a solo work day on either a Wednesday morning or a Thursday morning, because by this point in the week, because I'm at home, I have to be at home on Mondays and Tuesdays for check-ins. By this point in the week, I'm like, okay, I need to see another human being's face that isn't Joshua's. And the gym doesn't count because I don't look at anybody's face in the gym. I'm a eyes on the floor, get in, get the job done, get out kind of gal when it comes to the gym. So I'm heading into Stockbridge to go for a little solo work date, coffee. I haven't decided whether I'm going to get something like eggs on toast or maybe a pastry, because we are firmly in the reverse diet phase of the year. Well, we're 3 days into my reverse diet. I have just finished 8 weeks of dieting alongside the Girls in Accelerate, which I've documented all on here. So hopefully you already know that and you've watched my previous videos from the last couple of months. And now we're into the realm of reverse dieting, which I will also take you through and I'll be documenting over the next few weeks. I'll talk you through what a reverse diet is if you're unaware of it, how to go about a reverse diet effectively, and basically just let you in on all the details. And because I've started my reverse diet, my daily calories are up. They're only up by 200, well, 250 technically. They're only up by 250 to start off with, because I prefer to take a slightly slower approach to reverse dieting than some people who like to do a big jump up straight back to maintenance calories the minute they finish dieting. I generally tend to find that to be more useful when I've been dieting for longer. But because I've only been dieting for 8 weeks, the diet sort of mental fatigue isn't quite as intense. So I can build calories up a little bit slower and feel like that's a manageable expectation. Again, I'll go over that in a bit more detail later. But yeah, starting with 200 calories increase, which most days I'm going to be putting to use elsewhere in the day, making my kind of normal meals just slightly bigger, slightly more substantial in terms of the carbohydrate volume in the meal. But occasionally we can put the extra calories to use via a pastry, and that might be what I end up doing today, to be honest, because I really fancy one, and nothing goes better with a coffee than a pastry. We'll see. Something I wanted to chat about actually as I'm walking down to Stockbridge is this concept that people, I think, get a bit confused about when it comes to stopping a diet. Maybe not confused, they just get fucking complacent, actually. I'm going to change my vocabulary there. They get complacent. They think, great, the diet's done, the hard work's done, I can chill the hell out and just enjoy the fruits of my labour. And unfortunately, if you want to keep the progress that you've made in your dieting process, you still have to do the work for the bit after, the bit that comes after, aka the rest of your goddamn life. You still have to stay not quite as active as you were in your diet. If you were utilising a higher step count, a higher cardio target within your diet to help elicit more progress and move the needle forward a little bit quicker, you're going to have to understand that going straight back down to your previous energy expenditure, which may have been, a significantly reduced step volume across the week, very little, if any, extra cardio, you're making life a lot harder for yourself to maintain your efforts long term, because your body has got used to that energy expenditure. Your body has adapted and adjusted to that higher energy expenditure across your diet. So if you just go from 100 straight back down to 0, your body's going to say, "Whoa, what's going on?" And it's going to adapt very quickly as a result, which is going to stop you from being able to maintain your weight loss so easily, which is going to lead you to put some of the weight back on inevitably. So you need to accept that the amount that you were expending, the amount of energy that you were expending in your diet, can't really just go from 100 to 0 and still expect to maintain the loss that you've achieved. So for me, for example, I've been hitting anywhere between 11 to 13,000 steps per day in this diet in the last 8 weeks. I'm reducing my step target down to 10 to 11 moving forward, because 11 to 13 is just not really manageable for me on a day-to-day basis without putting a really concerted amount of effort in. 10-11 is more manageable. It's still a little bit of a stretch considering my job is desk-based. I'm at my laptop 8 hours a day, if not more. So 10 to 11 is still a little bit of a stretch, but it feels more manageable than 11 to 13. But it's not a significant drop from that top target. So steps are still at 10 to 11. And then my cardio target is obviously just going to be my half marathon training prep, which I am a few weeks into now. And every week I have at least 2, sometimes 3 runs to tick off. So that's my cardio target met without really worrying about that whatsoever. So yeah, I just wanted to remind you that if you've made significant adjustments to your life in order to lose weight, you can't just expect to drop straight back to what your life looked like pre-diet and still expect the loss to sustain long term. Just a little bitter pill to swallow there potentially for some people. Look at this beautiful, beautiful morning commute. Absolutely stunning. Beautiful scenes on my way through in Leith Park, and I get to dog watch whilst I'm there. It's a good day. One more thing before I stop yabbering on and just walk without talking to the camera. But I sometimes catch myself talking about dieting, reverse dieting, and hearing myself back, I think, you make it sound so clinical, uninspiring, quite mundane, quite numbers focused, numbers driven. But ultimately, it is. Fat loss, weight loss, calorie deficits, energy deficits, it's all a scientific process. For anyone who is unaware, I am so obsessed with Hilary Duff. I grew up on Lizzie McGuire. Me and Lizzie were so tight when I was growing up, and the Lizzie McGuire movie, honestly, unashamedly, is probably up there with top 3 of my favourite films, potentially even my favourite film of all time. So I have been lapping up the Table Manners podcast with Hilary Duff. I absolutely adore the Table Manners podcast generally. So the two worlds combining are just filling my 10-year-old soul with so much joy and happiness. But now I'm going to eat some lunch, and like I was saying earlier, the post-diet phase requires just as much dedication and adherence as the diet phase, and that includes keeping most meals relatively similar, but just increasing portion sizing slightly, predominantly on the carbohydrate front. So that being said, this is what lunch is looking like. You got chicken, broccoli, and I've just air fried some potatoes. And this is going to be my lunch. Very standard, pretty much exactly what I have every single day for lunch, especially in the week. Like the amount of volume I'm getting here for, alongside my daily kind of chemicals, the amount of volume I'm getting here for 450, 500 calories is going to keep me very comfortable for the next few hours. And, you know, I could get a sandwich from M&S for the same amount of calories and think, hey, it's fine because I'm on higher calories. But actually, my hunger levels right now, because I am gradually increasing my calories, my hunger levels are increasing alongside that as well. So I need to make sure that I'm prioritizing keeping myself full with volume over just eating a ton of shit, especially because I did have that pastry. That's all I've had so far this morning. I am very hungry. So if I continue to eat very calorie dense, insubstantial meals, I'm just going to be shooting myself in the foot later in the day when I end up feeling absolutely ravenous. So I'm going to eat this and check in with you later. Okie doke. I have had, you've not been here, you've not had it. I've had a busy week. Nobu Thursday, Vegas Friday. Hopefully people understand that reference. I've had a busy couple of hours. I had our weekly catch-up call with Kath, and I've just been
finishing up some program updates for one-to-one clients. I've edited an Instagram video and set that to go to live. And now I am just blitzing through some client messages and responses before hopping on a, fucking hell, I hate that phrase, before jumping on a, I hate that one as well, before starting a client catch-up call with a lovely client who we've been working together for just over a month, and she's made some incredible progress already, actually. Yeah, we're down about 2 kg, 4 centimeters down on her waist. This is somebody who's already pretty lean and already in pretty good shape, so we're not needing to lose too much weight or too much fat before we start pulling her calories up and start focusing on muscle development. It's just a case of kind of getting a couple of kg off before we start that process. Suspected spam. Hello?
Hello, hi ma'am, this is Ayaz calling you from M-Fun Online Academy. How are you?
From where?
M-Fun Online Academy. Actually, we are providing online teaching services of different academic subjects like bio, math, physics, chemistry.
No, thank you. Anyway, I'm gonna go on this call now. So I'll speak to you in a bit. Still feel like you're man. Still feel like you're man. I still feel like you're man. Oh my god, I slept like shit. Why is it? Whenever I'm filming, I sleep like shit. Riddle me that. But I ain't got time to feel like shit. I got shit to do. You don't feel like shit when you got shit to do. It's also much harder to feel like shit when the weather is this nice. So that's a bonus. Glorious. March is truly treating us so far with the weather. I'm very happy about it. I look like a moose. Name that film. Oh, I need to stop yabbering on. I need to get ready for the gym. I went to the track night last night at the Meadowbank Centre, which is an intervals sprint session hosted by a running shoe shop or running shop down on Leith Walk, and I've been going for probably about 5 months now, actually. I think I started going kind of end of October, so maybe about 5-6 months actually. And every session is different, but the focus is speed work. So last night it was a fartlek session, which essentially means varying pacing within an interval style. So we did 5 lots of 5 minutes with a 90-second break in between each round, and every round was 2 minutes at like your half marathon pace, into 1 minute at your 10k pace, into 1 minute at your kind of between 10 and 5k pace, and then 1 minute at your 5k pace, times 5. So that was good, enjoyed that. Took a lot of determination for me to get there in the first place, because it starts at 8 p.m, which if you know me, you know that I'm not an evening gym gal, nor am I an evening run gal. But once I'm there, I do really enjoy it, so it is worth the effort that it takes to get out the door at 7:30 on Wednesday night. But then Josh didn't sleep very well. Why am I putting perfume on for the gym? Actually, yeah, fuck it. Josh didn't sleep very well, which meant I didn't sleep very well, because when Josh doesn't sleep very well, he wriggles like a little worm. So we both woke up feeling pretty damn tired this morning. Oh, my skin is so bad. It's irrelevant. Can't do anything about it. Right, I'm going to stop talking to you again because I've started procrastinating again. I don't have time. Whoa. I don't have time. That's what I was trying to say. Ow.
Do you know what the bad thing about single leg exercises is? The other leg. Smith machine reverse foot elevated split squats is the definition of starting the day with something hard so that the rest of the day can feel easier in comparison. is always so brutal. If your grip is becoming a bit of a limiting factor in your seated row, i.e. you know that you can push the weight up a little bit more, you know that you've got the strength to push the weight up a little bit more, but you're losing your grip, don't be afraid to strap yourself in. It's not cheating, it's just getting the most out of the exercise. Another thing that I suggest to most clients is that they use 2 D handles instead of 1 metal handle or 1 rubber handle. So you can just get a little bit more flexibility and mobility at the end of the rep. So you're not limited by the structure of the double D handles. I'd actually say the minute you get into double digits territory with dumbbells for Romanian deadlift, for dumbbell Romanian deadlift, just get your straps involved. You're not winning any awards for grip strength if it's hindering you from increasing the load that you're lifting. Get the most out of the hinge and the load that your hamstrings and your glutes are placed under than your grip strength. Or just spat everywhere. I like using cups for a cable lat raise because again, it just takes the emphasis away from your grip strength, and it also makes the exercise, well, it makes adding load to this exercise a little bit easier because A, you're shortening, you're lowering the requirement of your grip strength down to 0, and B, you're shortening the lever that the weight has to work through. The lever being the distance between the weight and the origin of the movement, which for lateral raise is your shoulder. So by using a cuff instead of holding the toggle with your hand or holding an attachment with your hand, you're making the ability to increase the load on the exercise much easier. Final exercise, single leg hamstring curl. Elton John's I'm Still Standing just came on shuffle. Just about. Little tip for a leg curl, keep your foot flexed to the ceiling so you take any involvement away from your calf and keep it much closer to the hamstring.
Okay, since you last saw me, I have had a client catch-up call with a gorgeous client, Beth, who has just got back from a month-long trip around New Zealand. She did get caught up in the Middle East chaos on her way back over. So yeah, it was a chaotic end to her trip, but just had a catch up with her to map out the next kind of 6 months or so up until August and what our focus is from 1 month to the next through those months. So she's got a really good plan of action, a really good understanding as to what her main focus is now and what that focus is leading to, what that overarching goal is for the year. So that was really lovely to catch up with her. And then I've had a shower, as you can see. I'm clean and fresh and wax and makeup on, and I've just finished doing some client program update videos. So every time our clients get an updated training cycle, we do a program update video talking them through that updated cycle. So things they need to be aware of, adjustments and changes that we've made, and why. Always talking about the why behind the adjustments. They can really connect with the sessions. They can understand what they're doing, what sort of benefit, what sort of impact it's going to be having on their training and their results and their progress. So they feel really empowered and really confident going into their new training cycle. And I actually wanted to just touch on Jenny and I have been working together since 2021 was the first time that she moved into online coaching with me. And I've actually known her, and she's been kind of a client of mine since 2020, which is ridiculous. But she was one of the first people that I signed up in the gym that I was working at in 2020. So she was a member at that gym. She took my classes, she took my spin classes, my conditioning classes. And then when I moved online in 2021, at the end of 2021, she was one of my first online clients, and we've been working together ever since. And she's an absolute joy to work with. And she, for the last couple of years, has been working on her Olympic lifting. I think it was literally a couple of years ago, one day she saw that was it. It was when the Olympics were on, and she saw some footage of some of the Olympic lifts. And she thought how incredible it was, how cool it was. And she said, can I do that? Can I test that out? And I have a strength and conditioning certification. Like I'm fully qualified to teach Olympic lift. I did 3 years of Olympic lifting myself. And I said, yeah, absolutely. Why the hell not? So for the last couple of years, she's been training her clean and jerks and her snatches. And it's just absolutely incredible to watch. It really is. To watch a woman who is nearing 50 years old, throw 35 kilograms above her head in a power lift like a snatch or a clean and jerk, and do it with quality, do it with control, dedicating her energy, her commitment, her focus to her training to elicit this progress in her Olympic lifts. It is such a joy to behold. I absolutely love it. So I've just done an update of her training cycle. So she does one posterior focused strength day, and then she does a clean and jerks focused day, and she does a snatch focused day. So she does 3 training sessions a week. And she also does a couple of classes in and around that as well. But yeah, it's an absolute joy to train her. And it gives me a kind of a fresh lease of programming energy when I program for her, because she's the only client who is currently having Olympic lifting as part of her program. I've had a couple of clients who have dabbled with it in the past, but at the moment she's the only client who is actively seeking development in her Olympic lifts. And it just gives me an opportunity to be a little bit more outside the box with my thinking where programming is concerned, because for the most part I'm training clients for muscle development, kind of more bodybuilding-esque style training, running development, strength-specific training for running and for high rocks. That sort of that's where the majority of my focus is, where programming is concerned. So having her focusing on her Olympic lifting and just allows me to utilize that muscle in my head, so that I don't let the years of my certification and my own experience, kind of dwindle and dissipate. So I've just been sorting that out. And now I'm about to write and schedule my email for the week before I then stop for some lunch. And then it's a big afternoon of content development work. And I think after I've had some lunch, I'm going to talk you through the reverse diet. I'm going to talk through reverse dieting in a little bit more detail as well, bits and pieces that I haven't necessarily covered so far in this video. Hey, look, it's near enough exactly the same lunch as I have had for the last 3 days / 3 weeks / 3 months. At this point, I genuinely do believe that I'm really doing myself a disservice by not taking shares in Faye and Heck chicken sausages, because my diet is revolved around the two of them really quite significantly, cutting myself short on a substantial amount of cash by not having shares in them. And also, does anybody else, like Josh thinks it is so weird how much I cremate my broccoli, and I appreciate there's a very small amount of broccoli there, so it looks even more tragic, but I love near enough cremated air fryer broccoli when it goes really crunchy, and you're basically crunching on cremated broccoli. I sometimes think, you're showing exactly the same lunch again for the 17th, 100th, 1000th time. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see it anymore. But I think it hammers home the point that I make to clients all the time, that if you do really struggle to manage your calorie intake, if you go into this headspace of every meal has to be new and exciting and elaborate and fun, and you hit kind of decision fatigue as a result of going down that spiral, making life really, really simple for yourself by prioritizing very simple, basic meals, component-led meals that help you hit your protein intake, your carbohydrate intake, your fat intake, really simply, it's just making life so much easier for yourself. And everybody wants to make life easier for themselves nowadays because everybody's just so constantly busy and thinking about, they've got 100 different tabs open in their head at any one time. So if you shut one of those tabs down by just prioritizing simplicity in your meals, I feel like you're just going to make life so much simpler for yourself, especially where fitness and aesthetic goals are concerned. So I'm going to continue showing my basic, relentlessly consistent meals until you get the message. All I'm going to say is, if you are dieting and you are not utilizing potatoes, my good Lord, my friend, sort it out, because that big old bowl of potatoes has just properly sorted me out. I was hungry before lunch, and 200 grams of potatoes for like 200-ish calories sorted me right out, my friend. So let's talk about reverse dieting in a little bit more detail. What it is, why you do it, why it's important, all of that shindigs. So I think it's important to understand your position in terms of like how long you've spent in a diet, how advanced your ability to diet is. So if you're still very new to the concept of dieting successfully or sustainably, and this is your first experience of pulling your calories up out of a diet in more of a logical manner rather than just the classic I'm no longer dieting so therefore I can eat whatever the fuck I want mentality, then your approach to a reverse diet is probably going to be different to somebody like a bodybuilder or somebody who is a bikini competitor or whatever, who has probably been through multiple phases of dieting and reverse dieting and bulking. Your approach is going to be different to theirs, because if you were my client and we were working together and we'd just taken you through your first ever successful dieting phase with successful calorie tracking and eating in a calorie deficit and all of that sort of stuff, I would suggest that we take a similar approach to the approach that I'm taking at the moment, which is to gradually pull your calories up from one week to the next, rather than jumping your calories straight up, getting you really quickly out of your diet and back to maintenance, and accepting the changes in body weight that will inevitably come with that immediate initial spike in calorie intake. Most bodybuilders will do harsh dieting and then pull themselves straight back up to maintenance, because they know exactly where maintenance is for them, give or take. They are comfortable with the spike that comes with that, the weight spike that comes with that, and they're just ready to eat and feel satisfied from their meals again. For most people, the process of coming out of a deficit is probably going to be quite psychologically difficult. The scale will, for the most part, no longer go down in a linear fashion. It will stabilize ideally, maybe creep up slightly, which is also pretty common. They will no longer feel as hungry on a regular basis, and that in itself will freak them out a little bit. So we want to gradually increase calories as a result of that, to avoid any really significant weight spikes, to avoid going into a big freak out moment of eating loads and loads more calories, having a substantial amount more freedom with food, and taking it too far to the other end of the spectrum as a result of that newly found freedom, and going into kind of a binge mentality or a fuck it mentality, and then, making substantial progress in the direction that we don't want to be moving as a result. So the gradual increase of calories helps us to avoid that, whilst managing hunger levels a little bit more effectively. We're giving our body the opportunity to get comfortable with a few extra calories without taking it too far too quickly. And we're getting comfortable with the weight settling, with the energy levels pulling up, while still continuing to feel a little bit of hunger that you probably would have felt whilst dieting. When your body starts getting comfortable and getting used to those extra calories, it starts asking for more. It starts saying, great, we're still not quite at maintenance yet, still need a little bit more. And it's important that you stay true to the targets that you're on at each stage, to avoid that big spike upwards that would happen if you did just purely listen to your hunger signals. So that eventually we can find where your new maintenance calories are at. For the most part, somebody who has lost substantial amounts of body fat, their basal metabolic rate will probably be a bit lower, or it will be quite a lot lower than where they first started. So if we've got somebody who was 100 kilograms, they lost 20 kilograms, for example, and they're now sitting at 80 kilograms, their basal metabolic rate, the amount of energy that their body requires at rest, will have reduced because they've lost weight, they've lost mass that their body no longer needs to manage. That being said, if the person has been clever and focused on muscle development in that time frame, whilst losing those 20 kilograms, they'll have been able to kind of recoup some of the extra calories that they've lost from their lowered BMR by increasing muscle retention and the energy requirements that muscle provides. So you can kind of meet yourself in the middle there, but the likelihood is you probably will require slightly less calories than you did at the start of the diet. But through that diet process, you will have probably also improved the quality of your diet in that time frame as well. So although you might be eating en masse less per week, you'll probably be able to eat more volume-wise because you'll be focusing on higher quality foods. You'll also hopefully be in a position where you can manage calories in more of a stable manner. I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. Yeah, you'll also be able to manage calories in more of a stable manner because likelihood is if you are somebody who was significantly overweight, it might have been a case that you were having really substantial days worth of calories and then significantly lower days worth of calories, fluctuating quite high to quite low from one day to the next. During the process of weight loss, it will probably be a case that you've stabilized your calorie intake day to day. So although you're probably eating maybe as much, if not slightly less than you were previously before you started dieting, it will feel like you're eating more day to day because of that more stable routine that you've got towards calorie intake. All that to say, reverse dieting is important for fat loss maintenance long term. It's also probably the scariest section of the dieting process, for women especially, who have been burned by relentless diets and fat loss schemes in the past, which is why clients work with us in coaching. So if you want more information on that side of things and you want to know how to reverse diet effectively or how to diet effectively and reverse diet effectively, then drop me a message on Instagram. I'll leave the link in the description to my Instagram account. Okay, it's the end of the day. I am heading out tonight for a little solo date night. Got a ticket to a talk about the psychology behind music and the way it impacts us with a company called Moving Minds, and I've been aware of their stuff since we moved up here basically. They do talks on various different subjects, like there's such a wide range of topics and discussions. And they do it every 2 weeks, I think. So there's a different talk every other week. And this one really caught my attention and it really interests me because I studied music at A-level. I studied obviously musical theatre at college, at uni, and I'm from a family of musicians. I love music. I really appreciate music. So I just thought it'd be a really interesting thing to do and to listen to, and I'm on my own for the night anyway. Josh is out until really late because he's down in London for work. So I thought, fuck it, let's go on a little solo date night. So I'm going to go and have a half a pint in the pub down the road beforehand, and then I'm going to go listen to a talk. And it's going to be very wholesome and a lovely way to spend my evening, although it is raining and I did tell myself that I was going to walk there, so I might get a little bit soggy, but it's fine. Been wanting to try that place for so long. It's called Browns of Leith. It's literally an old, like a renovated warehouse, I guess. It's been renovated into like a hub. So you've got a sort of coffee vendor, a wine bar, a pizza place and a seafood place all in one space. It's kind of like a indie version of a box park, I guess, is the best way to describe it, if you know what a box park is, if you're from London way. And now I'm heading to the venue where the talk is on. I'm very excited. I feel like I'm having a very grown-up evening, a grown-up solo date. I've taken myself to a wine bar, having a beer, and then taking myself to a talk. Very bougie. Hello, good morning. It's Friday, people, and I am off to the gym and I don't want to go. I have no motivation whatsoever. And my little leggies are sore after yesterday's session and just from generally the week of training that I've done. And I'm meant to have a lower body session today. I just choked on a piece of crumpet. I'm meant to have a lower body session today. I don't think I'm going to do it. I think I'm just going to go and do a couple of upper body accessory core based bits and then jump on the bike for a little while because I've got my long run to do tomorrow and I would much rather adjust things today to take some of the pressure off my legs, to have them feeling a little bit fresher for tomorrow, than push through just for the sake of it, just to tick a session off and then struggle tomorrow as a result, because ultimately my training focus is towards my running right now. And if I'm ploughing through on my strength sessions that are meant to have a positive impact on my running, but actually they lead to a negative impact, then I'm just not doing myself justice in my week of training. So I'm going to go to the gym because I think it'll do me good to get out. Look at this view. Sorry, I know you see the view out of my office window 700 times a vlog, but just how beautiful is that? How stunning. So I am going to go to the gym. It's going to benefit me to move my body because otherwise I will just stay cooped up at home all day. But I might just do, some upper body bits, a bit of core, some time on the bike just to flush the legs out a little bit. And then I've got a hefty amount of editing to do today for both Instagram content, emails, and obviously this vlog, which I'm going to get out. I'm going to edit today so that hopefully I can just upload it straight away tomorrow and move my little body. So that's exciting. Last night's talk was so much fun. I really, really enjoyed it. Sounds really, really wanky and really nerdy, but I loved going to something where I was just learning for the sake of learning. I wasn't learning to be tested or have an exam on or be assessed. I wasn't learning to better my quality of service in work. It wasn't work related in the slightest. It was just learning from smart people in a sort of conversation and a topic that I'm really interested in. I love music. I love the psychology of music. I love the theoretical side of music. I've been singing since I was like 3. I've played piano, I've played guitar. I really appreciate and respect what music can do for us mentally and the impact it can have on our lives. And yeah, it was just really interesting to learn a little bit more about the psychology of how music physically affects our body, like our limbic system and our nervous system and stuff like that. Anyway, why the fuck did I start talking about that? I don't know, probably as a procrastination tool to stop myself from going to the gym. So I'm gonna stop procrastinating and I'm gonna go. And I'm gonna leave this video here. So thank you so much if you have got this far. Please do like it. The like button is literally right there. You just one little tap, that's all you got to do. And it does really, really help the algorithm and all of that crap. And if you are enjoying this style of content and you're enjoying looking at this pretty face, then drop a little subscribe. Why not? Shits and gigs, hang around, stay in touch, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!